Welcome back to the marvelous Dinodrax, where my mission is to recap characters, events, and general knowledge so you can be ready to see the next Marvel movie, TV show, or special presentation. Today, I will be talking about all you might need to know for Thunderbolts. We have a lot of marvelous content to cover, so let's fucking go. Let's start with someone who is heavily armed and dangerous, and who is so handsome he could get arrested for
killing all the ladies. Look at that. Pow, 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 pow.
Bucky Barnes was Steve Rogers' childhood best friend and would always have to save him from bullies, even as they got older. Once World War II started, Bucky enlisted in the Army and was a sergeant in the 107th Infantry Division. His unit was captured by Hydra and was eventually saved by Steve Rogers, who had been given a super soldier serum and was known as Captain America. Bucky would join Steve with their group known as the Howling Commandos and would go on to turn the tide in the battle against Hydra. Sadly, one mission went awry as Bucky was seemingly killed as he fell from a train into the icy valley below. It sadly got worse as he was found alive by Hydra scientists who transformed him into a super soldier assassin. With mind control code words to command him, brainwashing treatment, and a new metal arm, he became the Winter Soldier and was used by Hydra to covertly alter world history and was put into a cryogenic chamber when he was not needed. He would eventually be put on a mission to kill Nick Fury in the present day of 2014 and was eventually ordered to kill Captain America himself. During one fight, Cap unmasks the Winter Soldier and recognizes him as Bucky, but due to the brainwashing, he doesn't know who that is. In the final battle, Steve manages to get Bucky to remember who he is and what Bucky means to him. After saving Cap, Bucky goes on to try and remember who he is and is laying low. He was fine until someone frames the Winter Soldier for a UN bombing. Steve would go on to try and keep Bucky safe and stop whoever framed him. In doing so, Cap became a fugitive again and will stop at nothing to keep Bucky safe. Both Cap and Bucky end up fighting Iron Man since we learn that the Winter Soldier killed his parents, and during the fight, Bucky's metal arm was destroyed. Once Cap and Bucky get to safety in Wakanda, Bucky wants the Wakandan scientists to free him from Hydra's control, and is put on the ice until he is needed again. He was eventually cured and is given a vibranium arm to help in the fight against Thanos. However, that didn't really help too much as Thanos snapped half of all life away, including Bucky. After about a 5-year time skip and about 2 hours into Avengers Endgame, Professor Hulk brings everyone back and all the heroes in the world, no not you guys, all the heroes in the world that Marvel has the movie rights to in 2019 come together to stop a time-traveling Thanos. They succeed, and as Steve goes to return their borrowed Infinity Stones, he says goodbye to Bucky as he goes to live his life with Peggy Carter, and completely leaves his boyfriend, best friend, behind. Bucky would go on later to get a pardon for the crimes he committed as the Winter Soldier, and works to make amends for the lives he unknowingly destroyed. But he was needed as a group of super soldiers are causing trouble that leads him and Sam to go to stop them. While their dynamic was a little rocky to start, Bucky and Sam put aside their differences and worked together to stop the group known as the Flag Smashers from their attack in New York City. They succeed, and Bucky is proud to see Sam take up the mantle of Captain America. He wouldn't be seen again until a surprise cameo in Captain America Brave New Worlds, as it is revealed that he is going to be a future congressman. I'm not sure why he decided to go that route, but it is surprisingly not the weirdest election result. Oh, in the MCU, I'm sorry. During the events of the Falcon and the Winter Soldier, Bucky and Sam had at least one thing they could agree on from the start. Fuck this guy. After Steve gave Sam his shield, Sam didn't think he could live up to the legacy that Steve left behind, and gave the shield to the US government. In a bold move, the US government gave the shield and title of Captain America to US Army soldier John Walker. Even though he was unsure if he could do a good job, he was supported by his wife and had his friend Lamar Hoskins by his side. He and Lamar try to help Sam and Bucky with the Flag Smashers, but they don't really want his help. When John and Lamar try to go on their own to find the Flag Smashers, no one takes them seriously, which starts to get to John. They do manage to track Sam and Bucky and botch their mission, as tensions rise between all of them. At one point, John pockets a vial of super soldier serum that the Flag Smashers were going to use. He decides to use it on himself as he is humiliated when he fights the Flag Smashers and the Wakandan Dora Milaje. Soon after that, Lamar is killed by a Flag Smasher and John is sent into a blind rage as he kills one of them in front of a crowd. This causes Sam and Bucky to try to stop John from making another mistake. They all fight and Sam takes the shield from a defeated John Walker. It got worse as the US government stripped John of his title of Captain America and left him humiliated. He decided to go for revenge and gears up to stop the Flag Smashers in their New York City attack. However, he decides to put his hate aside and works with Sam and Bucky to keep everyone safe. After the battle, John is given an opportunity by a mysterious woman he met earlier to use his super soldier strength for an interesting opportunity as the US agent. My question is, how much money did the US government waste on promoting Walker as their new Captain America? They wanted him to be their next big thing so bad that when he made a mistake in public, they dropped him. I kind of wonder if anyone else has had to deal with that. Regardless, that mysterious woman who helped Walker was Contessa Valentina Allegra de Fontaine, or, if you want a quicker way to say that mouthful, Val. Val helps out John Walker in The Falcon and the Winter Soldier during his time of need and helps turn him into a useful agent that she can use. We get more info about her in Black Panther Wakanda Forever, as she is seen to be the director of the FBI. I think they call her director, and based on this one FBI jacket nearby, I kinda just assumed. If I'm wrong, then please let me know. She is also Special Agent Everett Ross's ex-wife, but I'm sure they can put aside their past and trust each other now, right? No, she plants the listening device into the Kamoyo beads that Ross was using to contact the Wakandans and arrests Ross. Either that or they are using these handcuffs for other reasons. However, Val did have one other appearance in the MCU. She was seen earlier in the Black Widow end credits, giving Yelena Belova a mission to kill Hawkeye, since she believes that he was responsible for Black Widow's death. Yelena Belova loves a lot of things. Hot sauce and mac and cheese, eating reindeer meat, pockets for some reason, but most importantly, she loves her family. For the most part, when she's not trying to kill them. When she was young, Yelena grew up with Natasha Romanoff as her sister, and Alexei Shostakov as her dad, and Melina Vostokov as her mom, and they all lived in Ohio. I'm so sorry. Unbeknownst to their neighborhood, they were Russian spies and eventually had to flee the country to get some intel to a Russian base. Yelena and Natasha were sent to the Red Room, a facility that trained girls to become Black Widow agents. Their family was split up, and decades later, Yelena was still Black Widow, and during one of her missions, she was exposed to a toxin that freed her from the Red Room's control. Once she got to safety, Yelena sent a bundle of the vials of the toxin to Natasha, since Yelena was kinda hoping that she would go to free the widows with, her Avengers friends. However, Natasha kinda brought them back to her. They were on the run from a Red Room assassin and realized that they had to destroy the Red Room for good. So they free Alexi from a prison and meet up with Melina and reunite as a family to try to figure out what the hell to do. They are ambushed and captured and brought to the Red Room, an aerial base where they control all of the Black Widow agents. However, they actually planned on being captured, and they did manage to destroy the Red Room and free all the widows in the base. Yelena decides to go to find the rest of the Widow agents in the world and free them as well, and says goodbye to Natasha. During one of her rescue missions, Yelena was blipped away and came back to a world 5 years later to realize that her sister is gone. Val seizes the opportunity to use Yelena's grief for something useful and turns her to a mission to kill Clint Barton. During her mission, Yelena befriends Kate Bishop and tells her she will stop at nothing to kill Clint. In the Hawkeye show finale, Yelena fights Clint and is about to kill him until he tells her it was Natasha's choice to sacrifice herself and he tried to stop her, but wasn't able to. He tells Yelena how she meant the world to Natasha and how nothing would stop her from keeping Yelena safe. With that realization, Yelena decides to spare Clint and disappears. On that note, with all this being said, I have one question. Where was the father? Did he go out to get milk or something? Orange juice. Good enough. Alexei Shostakov was Russia's first super soldier. Unless you count Bucky, in which case Alexei was second, but don't tell. Sometime before 1995, Alexei was known as the Red Guardian and was sent on a mission to be a Russian spy with a pre-made family to accompany him. When they fled the country, Alexei talks about how he yearns to be the Red Guardian again and go on missions. We would see later that he ended up in jail regardless and was rescued by Nat and Yelena to help destroy the Red Room. When they reconvene with Melina, Alexei puts on his Red Guardian suit and is stoked that it still fits. Since he's kind of a moron, he was not in on the plan to take down the Red Room, but still managed to help out. Once the mission was over, he is glad that the family came back together and goes off to help the rescued Widow agents. One of those agents was called Taskmaster, and aside from sounding like a pretentious asshole with that name, she kinda needs a recap too. When Antonia Dreykov was a young girl, she was caught in an explosion that was meant to kill her father, General Dreykov, who is the leader of the Red Room. They were seemingly killed by Natasha Romanoff and Clint Barton, but somehow managed to survive. Antonia was given enhancements that allowed her to become the perfect assassin. Those enhancements allowed her to mimic the fighting style of her opponent so she can match their moves perfectly. Taskmaster was sent to retrieve the vials from Natasha and kill her as well, but but it seems that her name is terrible because she fails at that. A lot! Eventually, Natasha frees her from the mind control of the Red Room, and Antonia is free to live a life away from all the violence. But she's kind of in the new movie, so we'll have to see about that. If I had a nickel for every member of the Thunderbolts team who was an antagonist from a previous Marvel movie and was a trained assassin against their will who managed to be redeemed by the end of their movie, I'd have 3 nickels. That's a lot. Let's talk about Ghost. After a lab experiment dealing with quantum energy goes wrong, Ava Starr lost both her parents, and as a result of the explosion, she had a condition called molecular disequilibrium. This meant that she could phase through objects, people, and basically everything around her. A man named Bill Foster wanted to help her, and he worked with her to have better control over her power. However, S.H.I.E.L.D. saw an opportunity and trained her to be a stealth operative and built her a suit to control her power. As time went on, her power was going to cause her to die. So she went to Bill Foster for help, and they decided to use Janet Van Dyne, who had been trapped in the quantum realm for decades, as a means to cure Ghost, even if it kills Janet. Ant-Man and the Wasp want to rescue Janet, and they work together to stop Ghost. Once Janet was rescued, she uses some of her quantum energy to stabilize a weak Ghost. As they all leave to avoid the feds, Ghost tries to tell Bill Foster to leave her, but he wants to stay with her to help, so they go off to hide. They enlist the help of Hank Pym and the others, and they decide to send Scott Lang to retrieve quantum energy for Ghost. But Thanos' snap causes Hank, Hope, and Janet to blip and strand Scott in the quantum realm, and leaves Ghost with no way of knowing that they can't help. Anyways, that is all you might need to know for Thunderbolts. We see in the new movie that Val believes that she has the strongest hero ever ready to protect the world, but that hero seems to have other plans, and it's up to the Thunderbolts, or whatever the hell they want to be called, to stop them. And although everyone on that team has done terrible things in their past, they'll have to put all that aside and be heroes worthy of being put on a Wheaties box. Thank you so much for watching. Let me know if there's anything I can do to make these videos better. Regardless, thank you, and have a marvelous day.